What's up, Cardfighters? Ryan here from Vanguard Central, bringing you a brand new Brave deck profile.
Stand up, Vanguard!
Starting with our grade 3s, you're running 4 copies of Blue Sky Knight Altmile. Altmile is the main boss of this deck, of course being a Brave deck, simply because his Stride Break skill does give you the plus 5k power. So you want to be able to rush your opponent down very early and also push out a lot of cards from their hands with these high powered numbers. And then for our next backup grade 3, we got 3 copies of Model Knight Orhan. Orhan is the new Brave support, where if he's on the Vanguard, GB1, all of the units in the front row with the Brave ability do get plus 3000, and it is a Brave skill itself, so if you do have 3 or less cards in hand at a time, your front row will get beefed up as long as they all have Brave skills, which is pretty good. It comes in handy. I'm not saying it's amazing, but it's definitely a backup since he does have an on-ride where you can search for a Brave card. Moving on to our grade 2s, we're running 3 copies of Counter-Offensive Knight Slayman. Slayman is a great card for Altmile, simply because he enables multi-attacks by having to discard a card, which is good because it works pretty well with Brave. You can get pretty big numbers in this deck on the first stride if you can play it well enough. Next, we got 3 copies of Sage of Salvation Banon. Banon is an amazing card that can fill up the back row and get one of our most important grade 1s in the deck, who actually enables all the Brave skills. And then 3 copies of Starlight Violinist. I pretty much prefer Starlight Violinist over Benezel only because of the early game. Its ability to get you a Banon early game into another grade 1 and fill your field is just too good. And then we got 2 copies of Knight of Fragment. Knight of Fragment is just there to help unflip damage since this is a very counterboss heavy deck, so you want to get all the counterboss you can. And then 1 Knight of Refinement Benezel for that 1 grade 2 tech, since you can toolbox your 2s pretty hard in this deck. Moving on to our grade 1s, we are running 3 copies of Holy Knight Guardian, the unflipping PG for those unflips, and then 1 Hope Keeper. Hope Keeper is a very fun card to use just because it does have the Brave skill that when you do call it, it gets plus 2k, and at the end of the turn, you can counterboss 1 and bounce it back to your hand. So it's pretty neat. Next, we got 4 copies of Stride Fodder, because this is a very stride-based deck. You want to stride as much as possible. 3 copies of Headwind Knight Selim. Selim is the new grade 1 for Altmile that does count as a grade 2 in the deck. So it makes pretty nice plays with Starlight Violinist, especially on a Brave turn if you're sitting on the new Altmile Stride. Or not the new Altmile Stride, but the old Altmile Stride. Where it does get plus 3k, because this one does also get plus 3k if you're on Brave, so you get a nice 10k booster. And then next, 3 copies of Knight of Power Charge. This was the main grade 1 I'm talking about, where it does enable Brave, because you can, it's GB1, you choose any number of cards from your hand and bind it face down, and you just have to retire this, and at the end of the turn, you return all the bound cards to your hand and you draw an extra card. So you don't necessarily minus, but you do get to enable all these Brave skills. For our triggers, this is a very aggressive deck. It's kind of like an OTK kind of deck, not really. But we are running 12 crit, because you want to be super aggressive. And of course, 4 heals. And our starter is going to be Resurgent Knight Stias. Stias is actually great in this deck. I don't really like Milius just because we do have a lot of 2s that do tutor into this anyways, and Stias is free. Not only does Stias give plus 5k to any rearguard that you choose, at the end of the turn it does get a skill where you can bounce it back to your hand. It's pretty good because of the simple 5k, so you make some pretty big rearguard numbers on the first stride. Moving on to our G zone, we are reading 4 copies of Aerial Divine Knight Altmile. Altmile is the main card you want to be on, just especially for the plus 3k boost. I tend to first stride into it a lot just to get the power boost, unless you don't have, you know, the grade 2s that you do have on the board. But that's what Starlight Violinist and Benezel are all for. And also Slayman. And of course we're running 1 Transcending the Heavens Altmile. Altmile is there kind of like for the finisher. If you do have the counterblast, which you may not, just because you will burn all the counterblasts in this deck in 1 turn. It's a very fun deck though. Just, you know, get some extra multi-attacks, and also if you are at Brave, then you would be able to swing for bigger numbers. And then 2 copies of Saint Blow Dragon, just for an extra finisher, if you know your opponent doesn't have a PG. And the 1 Gabblade, just when you know that stuff is not going your way and you need a 2, you go into Gabblade. Thanks for watching, guys. That was our new updated Brave deck profile. This is a very fun deck. It's not really competitive, but it's more of like I'm just going to go swing face all the time. But I really enjoyed this deck just because it does tutor in your 2s and makes some pretty fat numbers on your first stride. So if your opponent doesn't have a lot of guard, they're probably going to lose the match, which is the best part. So anyways, guys, like our videos if you guys haven't already. Comment below if you guys have any questions about the deck, and subscribe for more content. Vanguard Central, out.